My sister dropped her 3 kids at my doorstep with a note: "Need to find myself in Europe. Back in 2 weeks." 6 months later she's living in Paris with her new boyfriend while I raise her children. Yesterday my lawyer called with news that made me drop my phone: "Your late father's second will, it changes everything." The morning Emma dropped off her kids was deceptively ordinary. I was preparing for a video conference, laptop open on my kitchen counter, coffee growing cold beside me. Then came the knock. 3 quick taps that would change my life forever. I opened the door to find my sister, perfectly manicured as always, designer sunglasses perched on her head. Behind her stood 3 confused-looking children: Jake, 10, Sophie, 7, and little Max, 4. They clutched backpacks and small suitcases. "Sarah, darling." Emma's voice had that artificial sweetness she used when she wanted something. "I need the teeniest favor." Before I could respond, she was already pushing past me, ushering the kids inside. "It's just for 2 weeks. I've been offered this amazing opportunity in Europe. A chance to really find myself, you know." I stood there, mouth open, as she dropped a folder on my counter. "Here are their schedules, medical info, all that boring stuff. Jake has soccer on Thursdays, Sophie's allergic to peanuts, but you knew that. And Max still needs his nightlight." "Emma, wait," I finally managed. "I have work. I can't just." "You work from home," she waved dismissively. "Perfect setup for watching kids." "Mom and Dad agree it's the best solution." Of course they did. In our family, Emma's desires had always been everyone else's obligations. "Besides," she continued, checking her phone, "you're alone in this big house. Some company will do you good." That stung. My husband David's death 2 years ago was still a raw wound, one Emma never hesitated to prod. "My flight's in 3 hours, she announced, already heading for the door. "I'll video call when I land." And just like that, she was gone, leaving me with 3 shell-shocked children and a folder full of responsibilities that weren't mine. I looked at the kids, my niece and nephews, standing awkwardly in my living room. Sophie's lower lip was trembling. Max clutched his stuffed dinosaur tighter. Jake just looked angry. "She's not coming back in 2 weeks, is she?" Jake asked, his voice harder than any 10-year-old should be. I wanted to lie, to reassure them, but looking into his eyes, I saw he already knew the truth. "Let's get you settled in," I said instead. The first week was chaos. I had to reschedule client meetings, rearrange my home office, and learn the intricate dance of school drop-offs and pickups. Emma's detailed folder was barely more than a few hastily scribbled notes. I discovered Sophie's peanut allergy extended to all tree nuts the hard way, via a terrifying midnight ER visit. Emma's promised video call never came. Just a text. "Having the most amazing time. Met someone special." 2 weeks might stretch a bit. "You're the best." 2 weeks became a month. 1 month became 3. Emma's Instagram told the story she wouldn't tell us. Parties in Paris. Yacht trips in the Mediterranean. Cozy photos with a French photographer named Pierre. Meanwhile, I was helping with homework, attending parent-teacher conferences, and trying to keep my consulting business afloat. The kids slowly began to adjust. We developed routines. Jake opened up about his anger management issues at school, something Emma had never mentioned. Sophie's nightmares about abandonment began to ease as I proved, night after night, that I would always come when she called. Max stopped asking when Mommy was coming home. My parents were surprisingly unhelpful. Emma's finally living her life. Mom said during one of her rare visits, she was so young when she had Jake, she never got to experience anything. "And what about her kids' lives?" I asked. Mom just sighed and changed the subject. 4 months in, I received the first letter from Emma's lawyer. She wanted me to sign temporary guardianship papers. "Just a formality," the letter said, "to make school and medical decisions easier." I sat at my kitchen table late that night, after the kids were asleep, staring at those papers, legally becoming responsible for 3 children I never planned to raise. I thought about David, about the family we planned to have before cancer stole our future. "What would you do?" I whispered to his photo on the wall. As always, his smile offered no answers. The next morning, I called my own lawyer, Victoria Bennett. She'd handled David's estate and had become something of a friend. "Let me review everything before you sign anything," she said. "Something about this feels off." 2 days later, Victoria called back. Her voice was strange, excited but cautious. "Sarah, I found something while doing background checks. It's about your father." "My father? He passed away 5 years ago." "What cold?" "He left a second will," Victoria interrupted. "One that was supposed to be revealed only under specific circumstances. Your sister's abandonment of her children might just trigger those circumstances." I felt the world tilt slightly. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying come to my office, bring the guardianship papers Emma sent, and Sarah, this changes everything." Victoria's office was all leather and mahogany. the kind of place that smelled of old books and serious decisions. She had multiple documents spread across her desk. "Your father was a clever man," she said as I sat down, "and it seems he knew your sister better than anyone." She picked up a document, clearly old, but official looking. "This will was created 12 years ago, right after Jake was born. It contains specific provisions about Emma's children." My hands shook as I took the paper. There, in my father's familiar handwriting, was a letter attached to the will. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, it means Emma has done what I feared she might, chosen herself over her children. I watched her with Jake as a baby, saw the restlessness in her eyes, the way she looked at her old life with longing. I love my daughter, but I know her heart. I'm setting aside a trust for the children's care. If Emma ever abandons them for more than 3 months, the trust activates. The house I left to Emma transfers to you, along with sufficient funds to raise the children comfortably. There are also funds set aside for their education. Emma will receive a small monthly stipend, but she cannot access the bulk of her inheritance unless she returns and demonstrates genuine commitment to her children for at least 1 year. I'm trusting you with this responsibility because you have always been the strong one, the caring one. Where Emma seeks what the world can give her, you seek what you can give to others. I'm sorry for the burden this may place on you, but those children deserve a chance at stability and love. Take care of them, Sarah, and know that I have taken care of you. Love, Dad." I read the letter 3 times, tears blurring the words. All these years, Dad had known, he had prepared for this very scenario. Victoria gave me time to compose myself before continuing. "The trust is substantial. Your father made some excellent investments. The children will be well provided for, and there's enough to compensate you for their care." "I don't care about the money," I said automatically. "No?" Victoria smiled. "That's exactly why your father chose you." She pulled out another document. "Now about those guardianship papers Emma sent. They're not just for temporary guardianship. She's trying to get you to sign away your rights to contest any future arrangements she might make for the children." "What does that mean?" "It means she's planning something. My sources suggest she and this Pierre person are discussing taking the children to France eventually. These papers would make it harder for you to prevent that." The thought of the children being uprooted again, taken to a foreign country by a mother who'd already abandoned them once, made my blood run cold. "What do we do?" Victoria's smile turned slightly predatory. "We use your father's will. Emma's actions have triggered the trust conditions. Legally, the house is now yours. More importantly, we can file for permanent guardianship. With a documented abandonment and your father's will supporting you, we have a strong case." I thought about Jake's anger finally starting to ease, about Sophie's growing confidence, about Max's laughter returning. "Do it," I said, "whatever it takes to protect them." That night, as I tucked the kids into bed, Sophie in the room I painted purple for her, Jake in the space he'd made his own with soccer posters, Max clutching his dinosaur in his race car bed, I felt a strange mix of sadness and determination. Emma had given birth to these children, but she'd never really seen them, never noticed how Jake's anger masked his fear of not being enough, never realized Sophie's perfectionism was a desperate bid for attention, never understood that Max's clinginess came from deep insecurity. But I saw them, and thanks to Dad's foresight, I could protect them. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Pierre and I are engaged. Thinking of having the kids come for the wedding in Paris, 2 months okay?" I looked at the sleeping children, thought of the documents on Victoria's desk, and typed back, "We need to talk." The real battle was just beginning. Emma's response came faster than I expected, not a text, but a video call at 7 a.m. the next morning. I stepped onto the back porch to take it, away from little ears that didn't need to hear this conversation. "What do you mean?" "We need to talk." Emma's face filled my screen, Paris glittering behind her. The kids would love Paris. Pierre's family has this amazing chateau where the kids aren't going to Paris. I cut in, my voice firm. "And we need to discuss Dad's second will." The change in her expression was instant. The carefree smile vanished, replaced by something calculating. "What second will?" "The one he left protecting your children from exactly this situation." I watched her face carefully. "He knew, Emma. He knew you'd do this someday." She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "That's ridiculous. Daddy would never. I'm their mother. I have rights. Rights you abandoned when you disappeared for 6 months to find yourself." I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. "Do you even know what's happening in their lives?" Jake made the advanced soccer team. Sophie won the school art competition. Max finally stopped crying himself to sleep asking for you. "Don't you dare judge me." Emma's voice rose. "You have no idea what it's like, having kids so young, missing out on everything, and now they finally found happiness at the expense of your children's happiness." I snapped. "They're not accessories you can store away until they fit your lifestyle, Emma. They're people, Small, vulnerable people who need stability and love. They had that with me. I'm their mother. No, Emma. You're their birth mother. I'm the one who's been actually mothering them. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma's face had gone pale, her perfectly maintained mask cracking. I'm calling Mom, she finally said. This is insane. You can't just— Mom and Dad's house is legally mine now, I interrupted. Part of Dad's provisions. The trust for the kids has activated. You can call whoever you want, but it won't change the facts. Emma's eyes narrowed. So that's your game? Steal my inheritance? My children? You're just jealous because you couldn't have kids of your own. The words were meant to hurt, and they did, but I'd developed a thicker skin over the past 6 months. Victoria Bennett is handling everything, I said calmly. You remember her. Dad's lawyer. Call her office if you want to discuss the legal details, but the kids are staying with me. We'll see about that. Emma ended the call with a violent tap. Within hours, my phone was buzzing constantly. Mom called first, alternating between tears and accusations. How could you do this to your sister? We're family. Yes, we are. I agreed, which is why I'm protecting those kids. Old family friends called. Flying monkeys in Emma's drama. Even our Aunt Linda, who hadn't visited the kids once in 6 months, suddenly had opinions about their welfare. But the worst was yet to come. 3 days after my conversation with Emma, I received notice that she was filing for emergency custody, claiming I had manipulated the situation to kidnap her children. Her lawyer painted me as an unstable widow, obsessed with replacing my lost chance at motherhood by stealing my sister's children. Victoria was unfazed. This is good, she said when I called her in a panic. She's showing her true colors. Every action she takes proves your father right. The courts moved quickly, given the circumstances. A hearing was scheduled for the following week. In the meantime, I had to tell the kids what was happening. Jake understood immediately. She wants to take us to France, doesn't she? His hands clenched into fists. I won't go. You can't make me. Sophie burst into tears. But my friends are here. My school. And you're here. Max just climbed into my lap and held on tight, too young to fully understand, but old enough to sense the tension. The day of the hearing arrived with gray skies and thunder, fitting weather for what was to come. I dressed carefully in a conservative blue suit, trying to project stability and competence. Emma showed up in designer clothes, Pierre by her side, looking every bit the glamorous mother ready to reclaim her children. But I noticed she didn't once look at the kids, who were waiting with my friend Anne in the courthouse corridor. The judge, an older woman named Harrison, reviewed the documents carefully. Emma's lawyer spoke first, weaving a tale of a young mother, temporarily overwhelmed, who had trusted her sister to watch her children while she sorted herself out. He painted Emma as a victim of manipulation, and me as an opportunist. Then Victoria presented our case. She had everything. Emma's social media posts showing her partying across Europe while ignoring her children's calls. Documentation of missed parent-teacher conferences and doctor appointments. Statements from the kids' teachers about their improved behavior and grades under my care. And finally, Dad's will and letter. Your Honor, Victoria concluded, this isn't about denying Ms. Winchester access to her children. This is about providing these 3 young people with the stable, loving home they deserve. Ms. Sarah Cooper has been that home. The children are thriving in her care. Their own grandfather foresaw this situation and provided for it legally. We asked the court to honor his wishes and the children's best interests. Judge Harrison asked to speak with the children privately. When they returned, Jake was standing straighter. Sophie had clearly been crying but looked resolved, and Max was clutching his dinosaur. The judge's decision was clear. Temporary custody would remain with me while a full evaluation was conducted. Emma would have supervised visitation rights if she chose to exercise them. Emma's response was explosive. This is ridiculous. They're my children. I gave birth to them. Ms. Winchester. Judge Harrison's voice cut through Emma's protests. Giving birth is biology. Parenting is action. From the evidence presented, you have excelled at the former and abdicated the latter. If you wish to contest permanent custody, I suggest you demonstrate genuine commitment to your children's welfare. Starting now. Emma stormed out, Pierre trailing behind her. I heard later they took the first flight back to Paris. That night, as I tucked the kids into bed, there was a new peace in their eyes. They knew they were staying home. Sarah? Sophie called as I turned out her light. Yes, sweetheart. Can I call you Mom? My heart squeezed. You can call me whatever feels right to you, honey. No pressure. She was quiet for a moment. I think you're more Mom than she ever was. I held her close, letting her cry out the complicated feelings of loving someone who couldn't love her enough in return. Later, sitting on my back porch with a glass of wine, I looked at the stars and thought of Dad. He'd known all along. Known Emma's heart. Known what the kids would need. known that I would step up. I hope I'm doing right by them, I whispered to the night sky. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. This isn't over. I looked back at the house where 3 children slept peacefully, finally feeling secure in their home. No, I typed back. It's just beginning, because this wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about 3 children who deserved better than being pawns in their mother's game of self-discovery, and I would make sure they got it. The real work of healing was just starting. But for the first time, we had solid ground to build on. The next 6 months tested us all in ways I never expected. Emma's response to losing temporary custody was to launch a full-scale social media campaign, painting herself as a victim of family betrayal. Her Instagram became a carefully curated showcase of motherly devotion from afar, posts about missing her babies, throwback photos of happier times, and long captions about the pain of separation. The reality, of course, was different. She missed her first scheduled supervised visit, citing travel complications. The second was cut short when she spent more time taking selfies for her reunion story than actually talking to the kids. By the third visit, only Jake showed up, and he left after 15 minutes when Emma started talking about their new life in Paris. I don't want a new life, he told me later, sitting on our back porch swing. I like our life here, with you. The custody evaluation process was thorough and sometimes painful. The court-appointed evaluator, Dr. Martinez, spent hours interviewing each child, observing our home life, and reviewing evidence of both Emma's abandonment and my care. One session particularly stood out. Sophie was showing Dr. Martinez her art wall, drawings, paintings, and school projects I'd carefully preserved. Sarah, she comes to every art show, Sophie explained. She even took a day off work when I was scared to present my project. And your other mom? Dr. Martinez asked gently. Did she come to art shows? Sophie's face fell. She said she'd come to the big one last year, but she posted pictures from a party in Milan instead. These moments broke my heart while strengthening my resolve. The kids deserved better than being secondary characters in Emma's story of self-discovery. Meanwhile, our daily life continued. Jake joined a competitive soccer team, his anger issues improving with each successful game. Sophie's art teacher recommended her for a gifted program. Max started kindergarten, proud in his new backpack, no longer the anxious child who'd arrived at my door. But Emma wasn't done fighting. Her lawyer filed motion after motion, each more desperate than the last. She claimed I was alienating the children against her, disproven by supervised visitation records showing she rarely showed up. She argued that moving them to France would provide cultural enrichment, dismissed when Jake's therapist testified about his anxiety over the mere suggestion. The financial aspect was another battlefield. Emma's monthly stipend from Dad's trust wasn't enough to maintain her lifestyle with Pierre, and she was burning through her savings. She tried to contest the trust, claiming Dad wasn't of sound mind when he created it. Victoria shut that down quickly, producing videos Dad had made explaining his decisions. Watching them was like having him back with us, his wisdom reaching through time. Emma has always chosen the easiest path, he said in one recording. But parenthood isn't about ease. It's about showing up day after day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. 3 months into the evaluation process, Emma made her biggest mistake. She showed up at the kids' schools unannounced, trying to take them to lunch without authorization. The school's security protocols, which I'd carefully updated, prevented anything serious, but the incident left its mark. She didn't even know I'm allergic to the restaurant she wanted to take us to, Sophie said that night, curled up in my bed with hot chocolate. You're the only one who remembers about my nut allergy. The incident strengthened our case, but it also brought up fresh trauma for the kids. Max started having nightmares again. Jake's grades dipped temporarily. Sophie developed stomach aches before supervised visits. Dr. Martinez recommended family therapy, and I agreed immediately. Our therapist, Dr. Anderson, helped us navigate the complex emotions of our situation. It's okay to love your birth mom while being angry at her choices, she told the kids. And it's okay to love Sarah as your mom too. Hearts are big enough for complicated feelings. One therapy session stands out in my memory. Emma actually attended, though she spent most of it checking her phone and making excuses. I just want them to have the opportunities I never had, she said. Travel, culture, sophistication. What do you want? Dr. Anderson asked the kids directly. I want to stay on my soccer team, Jake said firmly. I want my own room and my friends and I want to stay with Mom. He looked at me as he said it, the first time he called me Mom in front of Emma. Emma's face debarkened, but before she could respond, Sophie spoke up. I want to keep taking art classes, and I want Max to be able to sleep without crying, and I want... She took a deep breath. I want Mom, Sarah Mom, to keep making everything okay. Max just climbed into my lap and held on tight. Emma left the session early. Mascara rang. She didn't show up for her next scheduled visit. 5 months into the evaluation, we had a breakthrough of sorts. Pierre broke off their engagement. Emma's social media went dark for a week, then exploded with posts about betrayal and fresh starts. To my surprise, she showed up at my door one rainy evening, looking less polished than I'd seen her in years. "I've lost everything," she said, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Pierre, my friends in Paris, my lifestyle, and now my kids hate me." "They don't hate you," I said, not inviting her in, but not sending her away either. "They're hurt." "There's a difference. How do you do it?" she asked suddenly. "How do you manage all of it? Their schedules, their needs, their emotions?" I could never. It was always so overwhelming. For the first time, I saw something real in my sister. Not manipulation, not performance, but genuine admission of her limitations. "It's not always easy," I told her honestly, "but they're worth every challenging moment. They're not accessories or obligations, Emma. They're incredible little people who deserve to be seen and loved for exactly who they are." She was quiet for a long moment. "I'm not a good mother, am I?" "You're not a present mother," I corrected gently. "That's something you could change if you really wanted to." She left without coming inside, but something had shifted. The next week, her lawyer contacted Victoria about reaching a settlement. The terms we eventually negotiated were clear. I would retain primary custody. Emma would have supervised visitation, gradually increasing if she demonstrated consistency. She would attend therapy,